podcast I created with a lot of love and a need to learn more about the lives and experiences of women on the island. I am extremely excited about today's topic, mainly because I reckon it's quite a taboo subject, and therefore it's easy to assume that there isn't a lot of information out there, or perhaps there is, but it's just wrong or plain judgy. I am referring to the issue of incontinence, a condition or problem many women face, and contrary to popular belief, it's not something associated with old age. On the podcast today, I have 3 guests with me ready to tackle the myths and truths surrounding incontinence. Cloë Neophytou is a pre-post-natal exercise and pilates specialist with a ton of knowledge on the matter. I couldn't keep up, I swear. Doula Claire, my precious doula, aka the birth mentor, is here to share her impressive take. And we have with us Charoula Neocleous, the Modibodi representative here in Cyprus, who will be sharing about the period and incontinence pants. With the help of these 3 wonderful women, we go into the causes and symptoms, first signs and treatments. So, on with the show. No, it's the first time that I've got 4 mics on, so I hope I can keep track of what's going on. But I'm okay. I'm feeling good that I'm here with you girls and that we're talking about something that not a lot of people talk about. Well, actually, no one talks about. And I wanted to say that I did a quick Google search yesterday. Oh, no. Before I get to the Google search, I was writing a message, I think it was, and I put incontinence. And autospell doesn't even recognize it on my phone. Is that just me?
No, you're right.
I haven't noticed, actually.
It doesn't come up with incontinence. It's like it's this weird word that they don't want to recognize. And I'm like, okay. So I did a Google search, and it was a sad one because it kept coming up with older women, older age, 50s, 60s. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's not right. There's something wrong going on here. So if I was doing a bit of a search and felt incredibly anxious, I can imagine, an average woman now in her 40s Googling and then thinking, oh my God, there's no help here. There's nothing I can do about it. That's why we're here. So, Cloë, thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Claire, thank you. It's your second time, and Charoula's second time on the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's always nice to see you.
You too.
So, let's try and untangle this thing that's called incontinence. Right, so first of all, what is incontinence? And who wants to go with this? I'm just going to throw questions and then...
Okay, I'll go.
Okay, you go.
Okay, so incontinence can be multiple things. It can be fecal incontinence, which is exiting of the bowels involuntarily, and it can be also urine leakage, but it can come from different different causes of each of them, and also can be both men and women.
Ooh. Okay. All right.
That's simple.
So when someone does think of incontinence, what they think is...
Pee.
I peed on myself. And I'm raising my hand here. I've done it before. Anyone else? Yeah? All of us? Claire?
I haven't.
Really?
Yeah,
You've
really.
never felt the sensation of peeing on yourself?
No, I don't know if it's because for 10 years I worked with pregnant ladies and we did all these stuff. No, it's never happened to me.
It's never happened to you?
No, but I do have another issue, which is going all the time to the bathroom.
Oh.
If a bathroom is available. Like, I'm not toilet trained when I'm at home.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. I'll tell you what, when I was looking for a studio to rent for this place, there are a few places in the old town that don't have toilets. And so whenever someone would show me a place and like, this is really nice, I'm like, where's the loo? There's no loo. If there's no loo, this isn't happening. So yeah, going all the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
If there's a toilet available, like if I'm at a birth, I could easily do like 8 hours and not pee, and it's fine. So like I have the ability to hold my urine. It must be psychological because I know it's just a place to go. It's a reason to get up.
Okay, question. Are you consuming water or anything else during those 8 hours, or are you mindful?
Yeah. Oh, good question. No, I don't consume much during those 8 hours. I'm very focused on whatever I'm doing. So I don't consume that much. Whereas if I'm at home working from home for 8 hours, I might have a combination of 4 herbal teas, 2 regular teas, and 3 coffees.
Wow.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
That is a lot.
Now that I've said it out loud and heard myself.
But that probably takes over regular water though, right?
That's what I like to think. It's my water intake,
Yeah.
you know.
Doesn't
Not
it
according
count?
to doctors, though.
Doesn't it count as water intake? A herbal tea?
Yeah.
Herbal tea, yeah,
does.
it's green tea. Or Cloë has a tea as well available.
Like a powder.
Yeah, that's a powdered version. So I try to keep a variation. I know that coffee is not good for us, and actually, when I did my research into urinary incontinence, coffee is one of the culprits as well as alcohol. It can be.
There can be triggers for the
Okay,
bladder.
so this is what I wanted to ask you. So, as a person who needs to go quite often, I'm very mindful of my water consumption. There's a fly in here.
I can see it.
It's a big fat one as well. Anyway, and I catch myself not drinking water so I don't have to go to the toilet. And then I was reading up on coffee in regards to incontinence, and it did say that it actually does trigger it more. So is there a difference between consuming water, consuming coffee, and incontinence?
So in some of my study, we actually learnt about water not playing so much of a role in incontinence, which was interesting. But I think it depends in what context, because obviously if someone's consuming like 4 liters of water, that's a lot of water. And if they don't have strong structures to support their bladder, then it's going to be a lot of pressure downwards if they're not going.
Okay.
Or constantly going. But then there was also the water didn't play as much of a role, as in it wasn't a reason why somebody leaked.
Okay.
Like 100% of a reason why someone leaked. It could have just contributing factors to maybe pressure on unsupported structures, for example, but not like the number one cause of leakage. Whereas caffeine, alcohol, they're more like irritants. So it was like an irritation to the bladder, but it's not in everybody. So some people were triggered by that and some people weren't.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
On that note, like with coffee, something I think is really cool to mention, which maybe we could do something on one day. I have ADHD, adult ADHD. Has anyone like heard of that?
Yeah, my mum and my sister.
Yeah, we spoke about it.
Yeah.
And you'll see if you look into that, people with ADHD, they rely on coffee because it gives them a dopamine hit. So they crave coffee.
Okay.
And most people that have ADHD, diagnosed or undiagnosed, they drink a lot of coffee.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they don't feel sleepy from it, or they don't feel too awake from it. It's just, it gives them that.
Just right.
Just
Feeling
right. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So it's a little hit that you like.
It's a little dopamine hit.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that. So I wanted to go into, first of all, not the causes. I think the symptoms are a bit more important, and people listening now are like, do I have this? Do I not? So what are the major, more common symptoms that come with incontinence?
So there's actually a massive list. There's some that you might not even think of, and then there's some that you're just like, oh, yeah, all the time. So coughing, sneezing, laughing, jumping, carrying something, and having any sort of leakage. Urge, like you need to go to the bathroom, you're not sure if you're going to make it, and then maybe you leak. Those are symptoms. Even symptoms could be lower back pain, hip pain, pain with inserting tampons or penetration, intercourse. They're quite common ones of incontinence as well. What's some other ones?
Wow, that's interesting.
It is, isn't it?
It is actually very.
It's separated into 4 types: incontinence,
Okay.
stress incontinence, which Cloë was just mentioning, caused by activity and movement; overactive bladder; mixed incontinence, which is a combination of stress incontinence and overactive bladder. Overactive bladder is when you sit down to pee and you don't quite manage to empty everything out, so it's just always full.
Is it the sensation that you're not emptying, or are you actually not emptying?
You're not
be
emptying,
both.
and you have the sensation you're not emptying. And then there's overflow incontinence. And an interesting statistic that I came across is that it's 6.5 years on average before a woman reaches out for support and help.
Found that too.
Is that because of the lack of information?
I think it's because of what you mentioned in the beginning. It's sort of portrayed to society as an old lady's issue.
Yeah. Or that it's normal.
So a lot of women are like, maybe, you know, the kind of like, oh, it's a phase of my life, it's going to pass. And then 6 years go past and they're aged a bit more. So like, maybe I'm at the old lady stage now and I can go get it checked out.
Yeah. Yeah.
From the people I've worked with, though, I've noticed, like from that 6.5 year, they've either just passed it or they're quite past it. But the only reason that they start reaching out is, okay, it's been this long now and I'm over it.
And obviously it's affecting their quality of life
Oh, yeah.
so much.
Yeah.
But this is what we do this on many levels, like pap tests, you know, or noticing something's not right in your vaginal area or with your breast. We don't go. A good majority of us just put it off for many reasons. So
I'll give you a question now. So I do go to my gynecologist and I'm like, okay, I've got the sensation that I need to pee all the time. Sometimes there's a bit of leakage. You know, what's going on? Is my gynecologist aware of incontinence?
They absolutely should be aware because it's something which happens very commonly during pregnancy. So
But you just said should be aware.
Should be aware. Everyone has different approaches to everything. And I think people that don't know about the titles in care can get confused. So if you see a gynecologist who's also a surgeon, their approach may be surgery, you know? If you see someone like Cloë or someone in this area who's more holistic, their approach could be, let's try and fix this first. You know, your gynecologist has diagnosed it and said, you have this. And that can be done from a few ways.
Okay, so I was going to say, how do you diagnose this?
So you can make a bladder diary, and that's where you start writing down how often you pee, what were you doing when you needed to pee, what was the level of urgency, did you leak? And this information should be enough to sort of show a provider, either medical or holistic or a care provider, that, this is affecting their life in some way. But it's important to also reach out to just get the okay from your doctor, because it could be something else. It could be diabetes, you know?
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that's why it's like a team effort, I think. And when you said to me, you said some doctors, because you get some doctors that would take this approach and they would say, like, you're too young for all this surgery and stuff. Go see a physio, go see a trainer, start working your pelvic floor. You might walk into another doctor's office where they suggest a surgical approach.
Yeah.
And there's so many factors involved. You mentioned before about women drinking extra water and maybe needing to pee, and there's no real show that that's correct, that water intake can cause incontinence, too much water intake. But if you've got someone who's starting off a journey obese, and then they start drinking more water all the time, well, that's all the factors you mentioned. That's the extra pressure. It's more water but the bladder has to work itself out again. Oh, we're taking in more every day. We need to let out more every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's also like yes, you can go to the gyno or the doctor or wherever, and you might go in with symptoms and problems, but you can also get turned away as, oh, there's nothing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. And that's why a lot of the people might come to me, is that they've gone there I've had a lady who went to multiple gynecologists. She went to her urologist. No one could do anything. And no one even referred her to somebody else. No one told her anything, what to do, what to look up, that she had anything. So she's just like, what the hell is going on with my body? And then when we started working together, she was telling her urologist, and her urologist was like, I need to find out who this person is because I don't know what to do with these people.
Wow.
So it's more about they're trained in their specificity, which is not incontinence. They're trained to do their gynecological stuff or their surgery stuff. They're not trained in incontinence. And maybe if they go and do an extra special course or something, yeah. But a lot of them, because it's not their specialty, it's not their fault. It's just they're not trained in that. So then it's more having a referral base around you. If you know this is a symptom that I'm coming across, okay, what other people are there around me that I know I can pass off to? And I think that's important for the system to have.
Yeah,
because if,
that communication.
Yeah, because if then they know, oh, I know what that is, I know who I can send them to, then these people aren't left on their own. Mm-hmm. And then they know they can tell their gynecologist and they're not just going to get sent home with you're fine.
Yeah.
But isn't it also the case that, okay, now we have a lot more information we can access, but a few years ago, you know, you've had kids, perfectly natural.
Yeah.
Live with it.
Yeah.
You know, and you don't really go into that research that you should. I mean, if it wasn't for Claire, I would probably never known about what Cloë does and, you know, and what benefits you can get out of it. It's like...
It's just normal.
Yeah, it's just
normal. You use your liners or whatever you're going to use and that...
Get on with it.
Yeah, get on with it. It's, you know, it's perfectly natural. You've had 2 kids, natural birth.
Yeah.
Even though going back, I can remember myself always having a tiny bit of incontinence, not...
Even before kids, you mean?
Before the kids, yeah.
Okay.
But it's always been a bit of a taboo to talk about it. I was, 25? I mean, who has incontinence at the age of 25?
But not who has who talks about it. No one.
Exactly.
Yeah, statistics are 1 in 4 women in their adult life.
Wow.
Experience some form of incontinence.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so let's go back a little bit now.
Is anyone else feeling like they need to pee now?
No.
I've been holding it.
You know, don't say that. Don't say that. Please don't say that. I can't tell you. You know what? I mean, you know, talking about affecting quality of life, I know this is like a very first world problem, but you know, even when I'm doing podcasts, I can only go up to a certain amount of time doing podcasts. I could never do a 2 or a 3 hour podcast without having to go to the toilet. And it gets to the point where you're like, okay, this is really affecting my life right now. I can't even concentrate on the conversation that I'm having because I need to go. I need to know that there's a toilet wherever I go. So yeah, I probably do have incontinence, Chloe. So.
This is an interesting question though. So, I mean, it is a long time, 2 to 3 hours anyway, but do you feel like if you didn't go that you would leak?
Yeah.
Or, like, do you feel like it's...
No, I'd probably like if
you're so busting.
If I was to just say, okay, just let it be, it wouldn't be just a leakage. It would like be
a waterfall.
A waterfall, exactly. Okay. Yeah. But I do remember the day I peed on myself, actually. I had to go to the supermarket before going home. I was just going to pick up a couple of things. And then by the time I got in the car, I was like, okay. It's just come out. I couldn't hold it in any longer. I've just peed my...
And you know, the perception of it is quite funny because when I speak to women, you know, when a lot of women send me messages to ask me, you know, about absorbance, etc.
Yeah.
And I say, do you have light incontinence? Go, no, I'm only 40. What do you mean? I said, so when you sneeze or when you cough, I goes, oh yeah, I do have that. Yeah. So they don't understand that is some kind of incontinence. They think incontinence is that when you need to wear specific nappies or you're at that age when you can't control it, whereas, you know, every sneeze and cough counts every winter.
But the image that you have in your mind of someone with incontinence does not look like us.
Exactly, spot on. Yeah.
It doesn't look like us. And it's probably got a lot to do with, you know, TV advertisements that we've grown up watching and all that, because it was never a narrative that was out there telling women that, you know, you could have this and it's absolutely normal and natural. But let's go back. I want to go back to the causes, because Cloë, you said that men have it and women have it. So, you know, thinking when you say women have it, and mostly women, you know, of a certain age, is it caused by pregnancy and birth then?
It's not the birth that's the problem, it's the pregnancy.
Oh, what? Really?
Mic drop.
No, that was a huge bomb now, because I'm thinking that it's when the baby's coming out that everything gets effed up.
Okay, so if you think about a pregnant person over 9 months, they're growing a massive belly, right? So over that 9 months, there's pressure building and building and building, down, down, down. By the last month, it's obviously the heaviest that you're going to be. So that's a lot of stress over 9 months to be placing on the bladder. Things can get overstretched. You've got the pressure pushing down. If someone isn't using their pelvic floor in an optimal way, then they're either holding on too tight or they're completely like their pelvic floor's like in a coma. And then that's just so much force downwards. Then that's when it would normally happen during pregnancy. But then afterwards, it can just stay the same, or it can either go back on its own or it needs some help.
So when you say, and Claire, jump in here if you want, but when you say it stretches and then it can go back, what are you talking about?
Like the ligaments. So like say the ligaments and the tendons and the structures that hold the bladder up, or let's say the abdominal muscles, because your abdominal muscles have to stretch. Your lower abs, so your transverse muscle, which attaches to the top of your pubic bone and wraps around through your lower back, that gets stretched throughout pregnancy. And there's been studies that the thickness of your transverse, so your lower abs, is not the same after you've been pregnant, which means that the tension that you can get on your lower abs is also not the same after being pregnant. So there's a correlation between lower abdominal strength and pelvic floor issues as well. So more people with less strength in their lower abs are more likely to have issues with incontinence.
So we're talking about it's affecting muscles, nerves, ligaments, everything. Wow, okay.
The body's like a highway. If there's a problem somewhere, there's a problem everywhere. So it's in front of that car that's causing the problem.
Yeah.
I'll give you a funny example. It's a crazy example, actually. Maybe I'll even read it to you. So I have a lady in my pelvic floor academy at the moment.
You have a pelvic floor academy?
I do. I just
Do they
started
graduate?
in January. They do.
They graduate with a healthy pelvic floor?
like
Is that what it's called? Pelvic Floor Academy?
I love that.
I love
The
it.
automatic pelvic floor academy.
The automatic.
Because we want our pelvic floor to be functioning automatically, which it has done for most people their whole lives until these moments, you know. So this lady, I have a one-on-one with them every week, and then we catch up again on a group. But in this one-on-one, this lady only leaks when she jumps on a trampoline. And it was really interesting because I've done the full body analysis on her, and I've noticed that she's really tight in certain areas. And I do a little bit of neuro side of things with people, which is like working more on the nerves of the brain, because each nerve of the brain targets a specific area of the body. And so we worked on some really random stuff, like rubbing her ears, putting a straw at the back of her tongue, humming, walking in funny circles, sticking like a tissue up her nose, and doing all these different tests. The following day, straight after the session, she was like, I was totally gobsmacked of the range of movement or the reduced pain that I had just from doing that weird stuff that we did. Then the following day, I have a big win. I did squats, skipping, star jumps, burpees. Oh, so she did have problems with that before. And I didn't leak for the first time. And it was the only difference that we did.
The weird tests.
So all that weird stuff, which was focusing on cranial nerves.
Okay, so what was your conclusion then?
So it's a massive brain thing that's causing all her tightness.
Wow.
Yeah. So you can't give approach because it's so individualized, which I've just been seeing more and more and more. Like, even sometimes I'm like, okay, what's going on with this person? How am I going to help this person? Because they're completely different to every single other person that I've worked with. So it's puzzle piecing constantly. And then when it's something like this and then we try it and it's like, oh my gosh.
Have you ever had a client who has not been pregnant, not given birth, have incontinence?
Yes, actually, it was incontinence and a prolapse. And we didn't actually work together. She came to me for a consult. She was a French girl. And it was actually induced from being bulimic.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so she was only 23 and she had a full rectal prolapse and she had also a vaginal prolapse, but she had leaking when she coughed, sneezed. Also, she likes to play the flute and she's unable to play the flute now. So I ended up passing it on to another lady because of the language barrier between us. But that was really interesting because it opened my eyes up more of this is eating disorders. I never would have thought about that.
Yeah, the correlation between eating disorders and incontinence.
Like vomiting is a huge force down.
Oh gosh, yeah, that's why, because of all the vomiting.
Crazy. So not just that, like she was vomiting and then she said she was going and playing the flute. So then that's a lot of the type of force that she's also placing. Plus that's massive. So it was really interesting.
So are there other causes?
What do you mean?
For incontinence?
The biggest thing is intra-abdominal pressure.
Okay.
So there's intra-abdominal pressure, which is like the pressure placed downwards on the bladder or outwards on the tummy, but also that's the same with prolapse. So prolapse is the same thing. Even hernias is the same thing. They all come back to pressure.
Wow. Okay. All right. I wanted to ask you, Claire, do you talk about this with your clients?
No, I don't talk about it with them. The reason for that is there's probably like 500 things that in an ideal world we could talk about with someone. And my time is very limited to preparing people for childbirth and supporting them in the postnatal. That's why I teamed up with Cloë, so that the people I work with have that team. It's a multidisciplinary team where, I can say, we've got Cloë, and Chloe's always letting them know what she does and how she helps. So I'm working towards making sure my clients or my following have more awareness on this by recruiting people that's their profession. That's their specialty. So
obviously, when a woman gets pregnant, there are a million other things that she has to worry about and think about.
They rarely talk to me about incontinency.
Yeah.
Incontinence.
But what I was where I was trying to go with it is that you said the word awareness. Are you raising awareness about this in the form of these are the things that you should look out for in order to avoid becoming incontinent? Is that the word? Is that a word? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it is a word. Yeah, that's our plans for 2023. We're just chatting about it. We want to put together a really good package for families so that everything is covered in this area. I think that the reason pregnant ladies don't bring it up in their sessions is they view it as normal. It's always sort of been in the movies and so on. The pregnant lady pees all the time, Yeah. And I remember that when I was pregnant, I remember being shocked to wake up to have to pee. That feeling of like you got disturbed from your dreams because it hurts and you have to get up and pee. And I remember thinking to myself, old age is going to suck, And about a year ago, I'm 36 just now, will be 37 in July. About a year ago, I started waking up and needing to pee. And it could depend on the weather sometimes, how much I've drank before bed and so on. But I used to be able to override that. I was asleep, deal with it. Body would hold it all in.
Yeah.
But lately, it's like, no, I can't. It's woke me up. I'm not even dreaming anymore. I need to get up and go pee. And when I go pee, it is a lot. You know, I needed to pee. But I think that's something that's not also spoken about much, is when that starts to happen. And it brings me to something really cool that I wanted to bring up today. I have a very good friend, and we were having our Friday night wine time. We were talking about stuff like this, and we got talking about middle age.
What middle age?
Exactly. I think she's in her 40s. I'm not going to say the age because I don't remember, but she's in her 40s.
You said middle age and then you said 40s.
See, this is the problem though, okay? Because we were talking about it, and she said, I think I'm going through a midlife crisis. And I'm like, well, are you middle-aged? And she's like, what's middle-aged? So we're like, well, let's say, you know, the life expectancy is around 80. So let's go with 40. But that's kind of really sad, isn't it? Like this. And so then we just decided that middle-age doesn't really exist.
Okay. I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
I'll go with that.
So what's your thoughts? What is middle-age? What do you think? Do you think like... Do you think it's something they gave us 20 years ago? They just like, middle age is this, and we've all stuck to it, and now we're like, but where is it?
And like the midlife crisis thing too.
Isn't it the same with what we expected age-wise? Like when we were younger, we used to hear 40 years older. Oh my God, that is so old. And now I'm thinking, actually, 40 was my best year because my children were old enough. I felt like...
You're not that much older than 40, Gloria.
I'm 43 now.
Are you?
44 in May.
44.
But, you know, it used to be a shock.
41.
40. And now, you know, when they call you to ask you questions, said, oh, which box would you tick? 35 to 44 or 45 to 60?
No, you know, the worst part is when you have to scroll down to find your year of birth. And it gets worse every year. It's like, oh my God. I was talking about a book I've got there that says, you said the average... you know, age that someone would live up until is like 80, 85. Do you know how many weeks that is? An average person has about 4,000 weeks. So right now...
Sound that much.
I know, it's scary, isn't it? It's like we've got 2,000 weeks left. It's shocking. Sorry about that damper. Anyway, I wanted to... It's like, what the hell?
Why'd you tell me this?
Why did you... I'll give you the book. It's right there. I look at it every day to remind me.
Have you heard of Mercury in retrograde?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's like one of those curses too. Once someone tells you about Mercury in retrograde, your life is just so different.
Yeah.
Every time it pops up, twice, 3 times a year, I don't know. You just watch everything around you just...
Yeah, but you've got something to blame, at least.
Yeah, but I wish I never learned about it, just like the 2,000 weeks I have left to live.
Can we go back to pregnancy and the ways that you are or will be helping pregnant women avoid incontinence? Is it with exercises? Is it with supplements? I mean, how can they avoid getting to the place where we are right now?
It's okay if I jump in?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. It's your area.
So some of the things that Claire and I are going to do together as well, because she's so great with her antenatal coaching and things like that, is we're going to combine a bit more of the physical, which is me, or with that education side, which is her, and bringing that both together, because a lot of the women, especially when they're pregnant, some people forget about themselves as a person. They just think of what they're growing and the next phase is baby, but rather thinking of, okay, what does my body need to be healthy and strong and to function properly, not just after, but now, or now to help support the birth and to support the postnatal period. So it's like really simple things like being cautious of your posture when you're pregnant, and how are you letting your belly flop out all the time? Even when you're pregnant, there are ways that you can support your tummy during pregnancy, which also supports your pelvic floor. There's posture types that you can help support your pelvic floor. There's movements that help strengthen areas that would, say your pelvis is in an anterior tilt, which is where your lower back is more arched, then your pelvic floor is going to be on more slack. So those people need to work different muscles. Especially pregnant women. It's the most common position
So
to be
is that
in.
just the makeup of your body? With a tilt, it
depends.
Yeah.
So when you're pregnant, let's say majority of pregnant women will fall into that posture type because of the weight coming forwards, that they get more of that arch in the lower back.
To be able to balance, basically.
Yes, but that means, though, that they need to be working more on certain muscles during pregnancy to help support that change so that it's not constant pulling one way, that it becomes balanced. Like it's a two-way pull rather than one way.
All right.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And that's just, I mean, and, you know, going back to years ago when pregnant women were told not to exercise, not to do anything. And we're reaching a point now where we're actually saying, no, you do need to take care of your body and you do need to do a few things to make sure that you avoid whatever can be avoided later on.
It wasn't even just from like that physical thing. There was even studies about exercising of really any level throughout pregnancy changed the genetic or the epigenetic makeup of the baby.
Wow.
Which is so cool. Like if you know that you can help your baby, I don't know how to explain like in what way the genetic side would be, but you're setting up your child for even better coordination and bodily functions from like having movement throughout pregnancy. It's so cool.
Yeah, that is cool. Very cool. So yeah, from your side, it's awareness then, Claire, when it comes to prevention, basically, of incontinence.
Yeah, you asked me, a pregnant lady talked to me a lot about it. Postnatal women talk about it a lot. Pregnant women, no, not so much to me, but postnatal women
That's
do.
what I was going to say, because probably some of them or most of them haven't experienced anything up to that time.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's something they wouldn't think of talking about. Whereas maybe you might see a difference between pregnancy, first baby, second baby, and then they might think, oh, will this make my problem worse?
Yeah.
Whereas the first time, I mean, there are a lot of women that are not even going to think about it because if they haven't experienced it ever, they, you know, it's more important to talk about the baby, the delivery, and this is the last thing on their mind.
The spotlight is always on the baby, isn't it? Even after the baby is, even before the baby is born. But
and they're wearing their big pads as well for a few weeks, and everything's coming out usually, so it's hard for them to sort of
distinguish between what is okay, normal and not. What you just said now, Charoula, about second, third baby. So does that make things worse?
It can, definitely, especially if they didn't have any like structures supported for the first pregnancy or like multiple beforehand, and they don't have that awareness already. Then it could completely go downhill. It could be completely fine. I haven't met many people who have had multiple who are fine, which is interesting. You mean
multiple babies and they're fine?
Yeah, like I haven't met many who have had multiple and are okay. But that might be only because the people who come to me are
not
coming,
okay.
Not
I don't think anyone is okay after having more than one child.
I have a customer actually that has 5 and she doesn't have any leakage at all.
She's lying.
She's always been very sporty though. So maybe because it was part of her life, maybe she did do some exercise. But she said, I said, 5 kids, are you there? She goes, no.
Do you think intercourse plays a difference, Chloe? Do you think if a woman's active sexually often and engaging herself and using her pelvic floor to actually, you know, do stuff during intimacy, do you think that makes a difference?
I think it can help a lot, but it also depends if the person... So we were talking about incontinence types before, but there's also pelvic floor types. Have you got overactive? Have you got underactive? If you have overactive, that can still be a form of weakness, but it's a tight... Like if your pelvic floor is holding on tight, you're going to have painful sex. So then lots of that is not going to be very helpful.
Yeah.
But if you had underactive, it might not be necessarily weak, but it might just be kind of like asleep. Then like learning how to use it in those scenarios, like having sex is going to be amazing for these women.
How do I know if I've got overactive or underactive?
So some of the symptoms that I was saying before, like if you have tight pelvic floor, you're more likely to have pain inserting a tampon, or taking out a tampon, pain during sex, maybe trouble urinating, even like coughing, sneezing, laughing sort of incontinence that can be from tight pelvic floor. It can also be from weak pelvic floor. So that's why I have to go through this massive assessment to figure out what type has this person got. So sometimes like I'll go through a pelvic floor awareness exercise to see how they're able to bring their awareness to their pelvic floor. Some people find it really easy. Some people can't do the initial phase. Some people can't do, like they can't let go. And if they struggle letting go, it's a really strong indicator that they have tight pelvic floor, which I had for a long time.
You have a tight pelvic floor.
Not anymore because I worked on it for a long time. But like I even sat on tennis balls. Like I'd sit on a tennis ball to help it relax.
You'd roll around on the tennis ball?
Like I would sit on it, like with pants on.
Yeah.
But I would like sit cross-legged and like if you think of your, like the underside of your pelvis, like where your vagina is, right? If you like felt the bones around there, it's kind of like a big
diamond.
Diamond, not triangle. So this big diamond, and if you sat and put a ball there, like a tennis ball or a soft squishy ball, and it feels like there's knots and stuff happening there, you should be sitting on that ball more often.
Wow.
What's your thought on these?
I need to get me a tennis ball.
It was quite painful actually the first time I did it. I was like,
I just want to try it and see.
What's your thoughts on these applications where you insert a device and through your phone you play? Have you seen it before?
yes, one of my
What?
clients.
What?
So there's these products
Intravaginal
available. You put something in your vagina.
Something?
There's two
It's like a
things.
TENS machine.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's one that you put like this TENS machine inside, and with your phone you're connected. So you play a game, and your vagina has to do the jumps and stuff, and it has to. It's crazy.
I've seen that.
Your vagina does the jumps.
Yeah, like
I love the content of this podcast today.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Tennis balls and jumps, vagina
and
jumps.
there's
okay.
another one where it's like small little weights that you put them in, and you have to hold it all day, and then you go up a weight because it's too easy for you. But what's your thoughts on those, Chloe?
Those
Both of those. The one that
for,
you
like,
play
the
a
eggs
game.
and things like that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend unless someone was doing a lot of heavy lifting. Like if someone was weightlifting in the gym, they want to be able to lift like 100 kilos or I don't know, something like that, doing a deadlift or whatever, then something like that would be useful because they have to train their pelvic floor to withstand a ton of pressure. The average person does not need
games
that much
and jumps.
pressure. Whereas like the
Games and
internal,
jumps.
the intravaginal ones, those sort of games can be useful for people because they're able to tell without having like a pelvic floor PT, which is where they manually test you. It can tell you whether or not you're contracting as well. So that's where those games can be great for people. Be like, oh my God, that's what, like the lift is making me jump. You know, like lifting my pelvic floor is making me jump, but you might not know, oh, that's a lift until you can actually see it on a device. So like I see the benefit in that way. I had a client who had one of those and it did not help her at all. But I think that there's definitely a place for them.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they're just fun.
It sounds like fun. Okay, so you mentioned before the word fixed. You said fixed. Can this be fixed? Can someone who has incontinence say, I'm fixed, it's gone, I'm better?
I think that's very subject to whoever it is that we're talking about. I think there'll be people where you can
Let's generalize.
Okay, so you can cure something, fix it, okay, or you can help someone live with what they have and make it more optimum and easier for them.
Okay.
I don't think everyone can get a fix for almost everything in life.
No, because when we talk about treatment, or when I was looking up treatments for this, surgery came up, Botox came up. Are these treatments that fix, and is it ideal? I mean, and what surgery is it? What's done?
There's multiple surgeries. I'm familiar with like a sling sort of surgery where they place sort of like a support sling around the neck of the bladder to lift the bladder. Then there is also a surgical
It's a mesh as
which,
well.
oh my gosh, one of my clients came to me and showed me this article, and it was from Australia. Oh my gosh, the horror stories.
Really?
Even one of her friends had the surgery and she can't walk properly anymore. There's this huge, what's the word with it? Recall. There's like a big recall.
Yeah, there was a big recall a few years ago about a certain mesh that was used, and they were saying to everyone
For
they have to change
hernias
it.
and for pelvic.
But imagine how uncomfortable a woman must feel, or how bad she must feel to get to the point to have surgery.
Yeah. How
If
desperate she is.
Yeah, if she feels like she's tried everything else and it hasn't worked. I mean, for someone that's really scared of needles and surgery, then I would never even think about it. But if it ever came to a point where, you know, it was really, really damaging my my well-being and I couldn't deal with it, I could have, you know, thought of it as maybe and looked into it. So I suppose, you know, that as we said at the beginning, there's not all types of incontinence are the same. For me, it might be a sneeze. For someone else, it might be, I mean, I've had people contact me for younger ladies in their 20s where they have a massive problem and they're wearing like the nappies. I think it depends all on how each woman is accepting it or treating it or dealing with it. Mm-hmm. Because there's women that cannot accept that they have any kind of incontinence in their 20s. It's shocking.
It's
but no one answered your question.
Fixed? No. I wanted to stay. Let's stay on the surgery part. Is this kind of surgery being done in Cyprus? Does anyone know?
I'm not too sure, but I know that there's been women here who have contacted me because they don't want to have surgery, but the gynecologists that they've seen have said that it was the only thing that they spoke about.
Oh, so it's being done.
I have seen adverts. Yeah.
So it's being done. Okay. And
but you know, we're saying like holistic is always the best first step or the joint step, but in some situations I'm guessing that surgery would be life-changing.
So I was going to say,
your client who had the bulimia, she was very young, she played flu and so on.
So for prolapse, there is certain stages of prolapse that you just refer straight for surgery. For incontinence, it's not quite the same.
Okay.
For incontinence, the person would need to work on it like very closely with the professional for incontinence for a good year before being referred off to surgery.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like to consider surgery if they want to go and have a consult anyways, like obviously they can. But the best option is always to work on it as much as they can, because even if they have surgery, they're not changing the strength of their support structures anyway, which then can always change if they still have the surgery. They still may have incontinence, if not straight away in the future, because they weren't actually working on the support structures.
The Botox part, have you heard of that?
No, you're the first to tell me about that.
But not so much for pelvic floor, but I can see where they use it. So if someone has tight pelvic floor, Botox is like a relaxer. So I can see if it was for that, maybe it would be to help relax.
Okay. All right.
Don't go with me on that. That's just my
what
idea.
did you find out about Botox?
No, I can't remember. I just put Botox there. I can't remember. It just shocked me. It shocked me to the point where I was like, okay, I've got to put that down. But
it could also be in the bladder.
In the bladder?
Like for the bladder. I'm not sure. Maybe Claire's Googling it.
Okay.
I'm Googling it right now.
Which therapies or treatments or solutions or whatever you want to call it, which come to mind right now that women should definitely stay away from? Apart from
Chloe's right. It helps the muscles to relax.
It helps the muscles to relax.
Yeah.
So that think of getting it in your forehead.
Okay.
A urologist can inject Botox into your bladder to treat urgent incontinence or overactive bladder. This helps the muscles to relax.
See, if they were doing that for urge, that's where I'm just like, no.
I was going to say, so yeah, in that case.
The reason why I say no is a lot of urge incontinence comes down to bladder retraining. And bladder retraining is the fastest organ to retrain. It can take 3 days.
Yeah.
Bladder retraining.
Yeah, like it's a mind-bladder connection.
Yeah, like when we pee all the time because we're close to a toilet.
Yes, that's a brain thing.
Okay.
It's a
But if we do it
signalling.
every day and then we go somewhere for like a picnic and stuff, we'll be like, where's the toilet? You know,
Yeah.
we're used to it.
Like you've taught yourself that.
Untoilet training.
Yeah.
Unpotty training. in adult
Unpotty
stage.
training. Are there affirmations that we could use as well to get the...
Yes, there is. So
Really?
there's maybe not affirmations per se.
I do
but
not need to pee. I can keep it within
I
me.
am strong. I have a strong bladder.
My bladder is stronger than I think it is.
You can do this.
It's called delay tactics. That's the word. Delay tactics.
I wanted to bring this up before. There used to be like this. It's a myth, but they used to say that if you want to practice your pelvic floor, your Kegels, to hold your urine while you're peeing.
Yes.
Oh, thank you for
Pee and
that.
stop
Thank
it,
you
pee
for
and stop it.
reminding me.
Yeah.
I read someone that's really not a good idea. Is that
No,
true?
Not a good idea at all.
And do all women do that, or do only...
But it was definitely taught to me. Like when I was young, I remember someone saying,
You probably got it from Sex and the City, where everyone got it
yeah,
from.
probably. Love that. I love that show. Yeah, probably. But it's true. I had a debate with a friend last year about this because she was next to me and she was telling my other friend that she just needs to practice. And I was like, what? Shh.
Okay, so no. Because it
No.
can cause urinary tract infections.
I'm not quite sure
No.
about that.
It can damage the urethra.
But you're also training your bladder then. Like you're training
Again with the training,
a really
yeah.
unhelpful
If you've got
habit.
you've got this
Wait.
little tube coming down, okay, that's connected to this big thing that holds fluid. So it's decided to let that fluid come down and let you pee now. So you're peeing out, and then you're doing this stop, hold it all, start, stop, hold it all, start, stop. That's stressful for that tiny little thing that you only have one in life of.
And it's teeny tiny.
It's teeny tiny. It's not that teeny tiny, but it's teeny tiny-ish. Yeah,
compared to the bladder.
yeah.
Kegel exercises. Well, I mean, that's probably the first information that we got regarding tightness or not down there.
So what we spoke about
What still
before-
applies and what doesn't?
So it's more when someone should do it and when they shouldn't be doing it. Like some people should be avoiding them and some people should be doing them all day.
Who should be avoiding them?
If they have tight pelvic floor, then they don't need more pelvic floor work. They need to actually learn to let go.
Okay.
Whereas people who can't connect to the pelvic floor, it could be like a lot of women after they give birth, they dissociate from the area. Whether it be a traumatic birth or they don't want to think of the area, then those muscles can completely shut off. And then they need to like reawaken, I suppose you could say.
Okay.
And you can do pelvic floor work, you could do energetic work, you could do manual work. Like there's a whole bunch of stuff that you can do, but doing your pelvic floor exercises is going to be really useful if you have completely disconnected and you can't feel the area.
Okay. When you say pelvic floor exercises, I mean, we don't have a video now, so no one can see you. Can you explain
Ooh, okay.
or
We
try?
could do the blueberry.
Could you take?
I remember that from that
Yes.
event we did.
Yeah.
Because at first I was
I'll
like,
try
"Ah."
that sometime. And you
I
said
don't
that
know.
toy,
Yeah.
the game, where you go, you grab
Yeah.
it, and you.
So,
Yeah.
okay, so let's say if everyone...
Are we
whoever's
talking about
listening-
grabbing things with our vagina?
Yes.
Really?
Well, no, not
It's
literally.
imaginary.
Oh, not
things.
literally. Oh, God.
Imaginary things.
We're going to think of blueberries.
Okay, I'm thinking of
Okay.
blueberries.
But you know those...
One or many?
One.
One,
But
okay.
you know those games with the claw at the like the arcades and
Yeah.
stuff where like it has a claw and you
Yeah.
lose all your money trying
And
to
no
grab
one
the
ever
claw.
wins. Yeah.
Yeah, that one. So imagine that your vagina is that.
The claw.
The claw.
Claw.
The claw. So what
Makes me
we
think of
want
Toy
to
Story
do-
as well. The claw. Okay, our vaginas are the claw.
I'm thinking of it in a sexual context. Okay, sorry.
We could go there after.
Okay, yeah, sure.
So if your vagina is the claw,
Yeah,
imagine that you're like sitting on a blueberry
okay.
and your vagina is going to come down, but we want to squeeze, and then lift the blueberry.
Squeeze
So there's
and
a
then
squeeze
lift.
and a lift.
Okay.
I might not have mentioned the
So we don't
squeeze
want to
last time.
squash the blueberry.
So if you squash it, that could be too much force that way. Or if you imagine like a vacuum cleaner and it just sucked it all the way up and made juice, that would be like tight pelvic floor.
So I like.
I love it. I love it.
Visualize
Okay.
the claw coming down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the claw has to come down.
Comes down. So you're thinking about your vagina sort of just
Letting
coming
go.
down. It's coming down.
Relaxing.
It's going to get that blueberry. It's going to do its claw thing and
Yeah.
suck it in and sort of hold it. And now it's lifting it up because you want to win it. You want to win that blueberry.
Yeah.
So it's
Ooh, I'm
it up.
lifting it up.
But you have to
lifting
go
up.
levels.
Take us through the levels, Chloe. We're holding
So
it.
let's say there's 4 levels.
Okay. I'm at 1 and I'm
Okay,
like
so
holding it here. Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
So we're slowly lifting up from level 1, level 2 a little more, level 3, level 4 at the top, and then just completely crush the blueberry and your bum will come in.
Yeah, I just did it when my bum came in.
That's a 10.
I squashed the blueberry.
So that's over-engaged.
Oh, now I've got a tremble happening on one side of my buttocks. I think I need to visit you, Chloe. My vagina was like, what the fuck are you doing just now?
Oh my God. Okay. All right.
So if
Okay.
you're like a 10 out of 10 at the top, you can feel that your butt comes in with it. So we have front and back pelvic floor.
Yeah.
Okay. So the back pelvic floor will come in when you're more close to a 10. Maybe, let's say, like an 8. I can feel mine come in. It depends each person.
I
Probably.
felt it when you told me to crush it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Me too.
Okay. So let's say from there, that would be like crushed blueberry.
Yeah.
So the optimal, if you were like, you want to pick up your blueberry before you lift something up off the ground to support the pelvic floor, or before you cough, before you sneeze, you want to first make sure that you've put down your blueberry. You have to always let go. And then you pick up the blueberry and then you cough. Because if you think of like a half open hand, if you're going to cough, it's going to open. But if you do that first, like the inhale, put down, exhale, pick up, cough, sneeze, it's closed and supported. Does that make sense?
So contract and hold your pelvic floor while sneezing, coughing, and laughing. If your pelvic floor is already not too tight and doesn't need none of that.
If your pelvic floor is tight, then it's going to be more important to make sure you're letting go first, because we still want to make sure our pelvic floor is working for us during like a cough, sneeze, or whatever. For the jumps, it's a bit hard to coach that one because that one's very individualized.
Yeah.
But for like the basics, coughing, sneezing, picking up something off the floor like a child or a cat, you want to make sure that you're still using your pelvic floor with you. Because if you, for example, drop something on the floor and you just notice that you just quickly bend down to pick it up, you're not probably going to realize posture-wise how you're picking it up or like what you're even doing with your pelvic floor.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe next time you need to pick something up. Have the awareness.
Blueberry. Okay. All right. So, what else? What have you got? You've got notes, Claire. Is there anything else that we didn't mention?
I think that we covered everything. 2 times more common in women than men.
Okay.
10% of all adult women report leakage. We've covered quite a lot of stuff. I have a story to share about urine. I once had a lady...
Sharing everything here today as well, yeah.
I once had a lady in labor, and she was very organic, very holistic in her choices. And she kept peeing in the clinic on the floor while she was walking around, actively choosing to urinate. As a doula, nothing phases us. Nothing is strange when we're in that bubble of birth anyway. So I was just like cleaning the urine up around her, putting pads down, seeing where she was planning on walking to next and decorating that place with bed pads. And afterwards, I found out that she was doing it on purpose, because if a person can urinate comfortably and freely without care, then their body can relax and the baby can come down and space will be created.
Wow.
And that's why she was doing it, And I thought that was pretty cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
That is cool.
Yeah.
I really like that story.
Yeah, I do too.
I like that story. Yeah, I do too.
Actually, maybe
Go.
that's actually a good thing to mention is the pelvic floor needed for birth is different than pelvic floor needed for pregnancy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because pregnancy, you want to hold it all up. Birth,
Yes.
you want to let it all out.
Like we had a lady in one of the groups that you had who was very adamant on why am I working on letting my pelvic floor learn how to relax, or working my pelvic floor when I need it to relax? I need it to be loose for birth. It's like, yes, but a functional pelvic floor will do that
Anyway.
yeah. If you're too tight, it's going to be very hard to let go for birth. So a lot of people, like I was one of them, my birth was like 36 hours because my pelvic floor wouldn't let go. I didn't know how to let go. And I know Claire's had a long birth of something similar with somebody. And
so many long.
Like a lot of the long births can be psychological, but they can also be related to the pelvic floor not letting go.
Yeah.
So functional pelvic floor means the ability to not only lift but let go.
Yeah, contract and relax.
Yeah. And so many of us are only taught
about keeping
to
the balance,
and
basically.
to hold, but we're not taught to let go.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So if anyone thinks that they might be, I'm going to use the word suffering because I can imagine that for some women this is suffering from incontinence. They can contact Cloë, who also has a really cool Instagram page that I followed yesterday. You've got lovely little videos on there. So people can, and they can also contact you via Instagram. Charoula with the Modibodi, you said that you're bringing them now.
They come in.
They're coming.
Wednesday.
Are they here?
Yeah, Wednesday.
Are these
They're in
incontinence
transit.
pants?
What are they? Yeah.
They hold up to 250 ml. So
you're talking like I could
completely to
literally
replace-
just pee in them.
If it's about 250
that would
ml.
be a really fun podcast. Why don't you get a pair and pee in them and update us?
Yeah, I'll do a try and test it.
These are, the major problem. A lot of women contact me is they did contact me after, when you go through chemo and they start having a bit of incontinence and they might not be strong enough to. So they wanted a different solution rather than having to use nappies and stuff. Also for all the ladies, but and ideally we shouldn't leak, but we do. It's part of life. So combination with Chloe's exercises, but also any information they need on incontinence that we can support through Modibodi, I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
And I'm guessing, Modibodi, by actually producing this type of product, is aware of the need.
Raising awareness as well.
Also.
They're raising
Modibodi
awareness.
is now a leak-free company. All the products we produce is to tackle any leaks, whether it's sweat, whether it's... the new products that are not available to us now is...
Bras.
The bras, and also now they have the shorts and tops for sleepwear, so you don't sweat.
Okay.
Another product is like pillowcases. So this is the main thing. Anything that leaks.
So
try to
Modibodi's
tackle.
trying to keep us dry, basically.
Yes.
I love that.
I love that too. Yeah. And Claire, if anyone wants to contact you, if they've had a baby and they're noticing that something's not right and they need some information, a bit of education, they can contact you.
Anyone can contact me for anything. I'll always send them in the right direction.
Instagram and Facebook, yeah? And your lovely group on Facebook.
The group on Facebook, which I can't wait to get this into.
What's it called? Mum to
Mum
Mum.
to Mum.
Yeah.
We've got big plans for this group starting this year.
Which is now how many members?
8,000.
I've
Wow.
been telling
all in
everyone there's 10,
Cyprus.
so I must have a vision.
Wow. But you know what?
Not all in Cyprus. There's some in Australia and the UK.
They're not all in Cyprus, but what I like is that there is genuine interaction in that group.
And it's a community.
Yes,
it's not,
bravo, exactly.
Just throwing something out there for a laugh.
Yeah.
It's genuine questions. And the one thing I love about it is that there's no bullying as such or making
It's
fun
a
of
safe
someone.
space. You were one of the first people to create a safe space online for women.
Yeah, and it's
especially for
admin
expats
hard
that
as
don't
well.
have a lot of support in Cyprus.
It's admin hard. Anyone who asks to get in. Like I check them all out. If it doesn't look like you live here, I'll check your friends to see if they have Greek names.
Yeah.
Because, that's how we keep it safe. That's how we keep it.
But that should be and is your number one priority, to keep it safe.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I want to thank you so much for being here.
I want to thank you so
Thanks
much
for having
too.
us.
That was fun.
Can
Can
wasn't
I
it?
ask again before we finish? Does anyone need to pee? Are we all
I was
going to
going to
run
say,
to
who
the
wants to go
bathroom?
first?
No, I'm going first.
Wow.
It's my studio. I'm
Before
going
we go,
first.
I'll give you an urge tip.
What?
Oh, God.
Tell us how to all
Delay
not need to
tactics.
pee just now.
Make us not want to pee.
So we can queue nicely for the toilet.
Who needs to pee?
I need to
I've
pee.
been holding this since 6 o'clock in the morning.
Who needs to
Does
pee?
your
My
tummy
hands.
not
My
hurt?
hands up.
Okay, so
Because she's
what you
trained
can
herself
do-
at getting good at holding it.
but if you think that you need to go, you can do delay tactics. So, for example, you could just, I just noticed I need to pee as I get in the driveway. How convenient. So I'm just going to check a message, reply to someone. For some people, that could be all it is. Then the urge goes away.
So it's a distraction.
That's a distraction technique. There's another one where you could look at the clock or literally pat the cat. Do something that takes you away from that focus. And again, that could work for some people. There's another one with quick flicks of your blueberry. So quick pickups of your blueberry, 10 quick
It did feel
flick-ups.
better. After we did the blueberry exercise, I didn't need to pee for a few minutes.
To be honest, I find the best tactic is the children. Mummy can have some water. No time for toilet. Straight for the water or a snack. Oh, Mummy, I need you.
See, there you go. A distraction tactic works
go.
great here.
There you go.
I remember when I was small and I needed to pee, and it could be a Scottish thing, but I remember my mom telling me, push your bladder in with your hands. Just push it in, and it would go away. And it would go away. Thinking about it now,
If you were to do that, wouldn't it just all burst
I
out?
would never do that now. I would never do it. That would just be so painful.
Well, it's how I check if I genuinely need to go now.
Oh, so you do it? You push in? My mom had something
No,
going
I
on?
do. I press on my
Yeah.
lower belly just
Yeah.
to see, is it my brain or do I genuinely need to go? And then my belly will be sore if I press, if I actually really need to go.
Does the urge leave after you press it?
No, because normally I press and I it's sore. So I'm oh, I've been holding too long.
I just pressed and I feel the urge down below. It's I definitely need to go. Yeah.
But does it leave the feeling of need to go now when you push it in? You'd have to give it a good push in. I wouldn't advise that. I was 4 or 5, It was easy for me to do.
So if you get one takeaway from this podcast, it's don't push your bladder. Thank you so much. This was an absolute joy. Thank you. Thank you. Looking back, I wish we had more time to really get into how incontinence, pelvic floor and exercises can improve our sex lives. That's a part that I really wish we had talked more about. Maybe we will. Maybe next time, ladies. You can find Cloë on Instagram and Facebook, where she posts loads of info and videos. Claire, obviously, is on both platforms too, so you can contact her there. And the same applies for Modibodi, who are also offering Mammamu listeners a 15% discount on their order. Just use the code MAMMAMU, MAMMAMU 15 when you check out on their website. All the links and social media handles can be found in the show notes. And remember, you can contact me via email at eleni@georgiesmummy.com and find me on social media under the name Georgie's Mummy. The episode is sponsored by my lovely Doula's project, the most amazing online store for curly hair products and accessories. And they too have a little special offer for Mammamu listeners out there. If you do decide to purchase something from their website, add Mammamu at checkout and they will send you a sample of one of my absolute favorite products, the leave-in conditioner by Curly Ellie. So a massive thank you to Doula's project, to Modibodi, Charoula, Claire and Cloë. Thank you all. And thank you to you lovely lot for listening and supporting the show. Remember, you can support the podcast by following, sharing or subscribing to my Patreon for as little as $2.50 a month. thank you to all those who've already signed up. I love our little community on Instagram. Thank you. Be well, be kind. Bye.